What's up, everybody, and welcome to Heal with Andrew. Today we are going to learn how to heal knee pain. Now, knee pain is the whole reason why I got started into self-healing in the first place. Back when I was maybe 18, 19 years old, I hurt my knee training martial arts tricking. And I had that constant pain in my knee every time that I would try to step on it or squat down. I would get this sharp stabbing pain right on the inside here, and my leg would buckle. It's just constant pain and lack of mobility with this problem. It actually took me 2 years for this knee to heal properly, and it was so freaking frustrating. But I learned healing techniques throughout the process of trying to figure out how to make this better. And I got a similar injury on my right knee later on. And instead of 2 years, it took me 6 months using the healing techniques that I'm about to show you. And so I dramatically shortened the healing time just by adding the tennis ball techniques that we're gonna go over. But now I've refined these techniques over the last 15 years so that I'm sure I can help you get better results much faster than I did when I was just figuring out all this stuff on my own. So as an overview, let's first learn how it works, right? The reason why the knee hurts is because all the muscles around here are too tight. We're using our leg muscles all the time. Since we were 1 year old learning how to walk, we've been using these muscles to keep us upright. And this tension over time causes a lot of strain on the joints and the tendons. The way that muscles work is that they're supposed to be able to spring. They're supposed to have some elasticity. And what happens when they get too tight is that they're not able to absorb that impact like they're supposed to. So instead, that impact goes straight into the tendons and the joints instead. And this is why we have things like tendinitis, inflammation, arthritis. There's this buildup of too much impact going into the wrong places. So what we got to do is loosen up these muscles so that the muscles can take the impact and not the joints. Got it? All right. So when you look at the knee, you just got to look at top, sides, and bottom, right? In the beginning, it just looks like, I don't know, there's like a million things we could do, right? But we're going to simplify it and just look at these 4 quadrants on the upper leg. And we could do the same thing with the lower leg, top, sides, and bottom. And you notice these are both sides of the knee. What else is there besides that? Nothing. So we just gotta figure out how to heal these parts of the body, and this is how we can loosen up the muscles to take pressure off of the knee. So one of the foremost spots that we gotta do is the side here. We're gonna start with one of the more painful techniques in the beginning because it's the most important. The reason why it's so painful for most people when they first start is because there's so much tension built up in the body. You can look at pain in the body when you put pressure on it with the ball as an indicator of how much that tension there is. Too much tension. As you'll see here, when I do this technique like this, I can put my full body weight onto the ball and it just feels good. This is the natural state of how our bodies are supposed to function. They're supposed to be able to take pressure, supposed to feel good, to stretch, and not be super painful. Again, that's an indicator that there's too much tension in the body. So you see I'm starting here with just the middle of the IT band right here. You know, in the past, I would beat around the bush and start with the hamstrings and the calves and just get someone used to using the ball. But in this case, we're going to jump right in because I believe so strongly in the IT band as being a huge important muscle in the health of our knees. I've treated countless knee pain problems in the acupuncture clinic, and every time the IT band is absolutely on fire. So this is a simple way we're going to do it, just right in the middle here. We can also use what I call the 3-point rule, where tension tends to accumulate in the middle and also at the ends where the muscle attaches to the bone. So we're going to do in the middle here. This is side lying position, a fundamental position in self-healing. Like this, just like you would rest, chilling, watching a movie, relaxing, or even going to bed. You can take your hand and move it a little bit just above the knee where the muscle starts to turn into a tendon and attach to the bone. And just relax. And when you feel like this has loosened up, then you can move it up just beneath that bony protrusion here, which is the top of the femur. We're going to connect right just underneath there and rest like this. I like to let it sink in until I feel that tingly sensation. And that lets me know that we've gone down and activated the nerve that's running through the body and activating our brain into understanding, hey, there's tension here and we need to release this tension. Because left to its own devices, the brain is going to just shut off feeling and function. This happens very slowly over time, where a lot of times we don't even feel that something is wrong anymore, because that's the brain's way of trying to protect us. We need to wake up the function using something called our proprioceptive nerves. These are the nerves that allow us to feel where we are in space. In order to wake up these nerves to let our body know, hey, we're going to use this part, so we better start sending some good energy and some good blood flow to this area. So we did side right here. Next, we're going to do hamstring. This is the one I usually start with, but today we flipped it because this is a really easy area to touch. So we're going to take the ball here and put it right here in the middle of the hamstring. And we're just going to let it rest. I like to have one arm on top of my leg and then the other hand on top of my hand here, and then lean forward. This allows you to put pressure onto that leg without having to muscle it too much. If you want, you could do another variation like this with the legs out. I like to do one leg in. If you gotta have one leg up because you have not as much hip mobility, this is fine too. Either way, we're just working this muscle. You can also point and flex your toe like this. And you see here, this is like making the muscle move back and forth. And so we're sort of flossing the muscle on top of the ball like this. Let's do another spot. We're going to do here closer to the knee, just above it. Right? I like to do closer to the inside part like this, because for me that's where tension tends to accumulate even more. So we're going to find that tender spot, let it sink in, and apply that pressure. When I find a good spot, I like to take that nice deep breath. You can feel even my tone of voice has changed, my pace has slowed down, because the nerve activation has put me into a state of healing. Before, I was all excited to make this video, so I was in a fight or flight state, all juiced up and excited. But you can see with the healing, it elicits a deep breath response. Just like we can take a deep breath in order to help ourselves relax, also when we relax, we end up taking a deep breath. So this is how you do it. Another spot is up close where it attaches to the butt, right here. Very common area of tension. You can feel almost like a cable, and I'm like rocking back and forth, side to side, trying to find where I can rest right on top of that cable where it attaches to the bone there. And this is huge. And again, we're gonna point and flex our feet, moving it in circles, just working the body through its natural range of motion as we are working on this muscle. Fun fact about the hamstring and using the tennis ball, I had a hamstring injury. I pulled it during rehearsal for a dance gig when I was doing a flip called a rise or a haïs, and I jumped and I pulled my muscle, and I was doing everything that I could think of to try to fix it. I was doing all my stretches, I was doing my tennis ball techniques, nothing seemed to be working. For a year this went on until one day I combined the two. I combined tennis ball and stretching at the same time, and this force multiplied it together, and the problem went away in 2 weeks. Of course, I loosened it up a little bit with all that work I had done previously. But you can see the power of when you combine these two things together. So we've already hit the 3 areas on top, and afterwards that you work on something, I like to test it. So normally if I'd work on one IT band, I would stand up and walk around and feel the difference. But you could also sit here and just kind of flex your legs, and I feel it's looser on this side. If we want to test the hamstrings, I can kind of go pretty easily on this side, but on this side, I feel that pull. I feel that pull along the hamstring because I haven't worked on it yet. And this goes into showing you how effective it can be to use the tennis ball first, or any kind of ball, to warm up and to loosen those muscles, getting out those knots and those muscular adhesions, and it makes it easier for us to be able to stretch afterwards. So for anyone who doesn't like stretching because it's painful, you can start with the tennis ball first, and then we can get into the stretching aspect. This is what I call the 5 elements of self-healing. The first one being self-massage with the ball. The second one, what I call anchored stretching. It's the style of stretching that I teach that corresponds with each of these ball techniques. So we learned 2 of the most basic areas, hamstring and IT band. Now let's learn some of the basic ways to get the side and the bottom of this calf muscle here, so that we've hit both sides of the knee. So I'm going to take this ball and put it in the middle of my calf, right here, and let it sink in. Same technique that we did before with the hamstring. Again, moving the foot in each direction, leaning forward, putting pressure onto the ball, and taking a deep breath. Then we can move it closer to the Achilles tendon, just above the tendon, where the muscle starts to turn into that famous Achilles tendon. And this is really how we can avoid Achilles tendon injuries and tears. This is such a huge issue because when you tear that Achilles tendon, you are out for a while. And this is because if you use your calf muscles a lot, it naturally gets tight, and then that Achilles tendon is taking all the impact. And eventually, over time, it wears down, and you're like, whatever, my ankle kind of hurts, my tendon kind of hurts, but I'm just going to keep training till eventually, boom, one day it snaps, and you got to go through this whole long recovery process. Why don't we use this simple technique to keep our calf muscles loose so that we can avoid that problem, and even if that problem does happen and you do tear your Achilles, after it is healed, you can use this massage technique to help it recover a lot faster, because every time that you get injured, when something has gone too far out of its range of motion, the rest of the muscles, they tighten up like this to try to protect it, and then they really slowly release over time. So when someone tells you, oh, just rest it, what they really mean is rest it and wait for the muscles to relax. But this is what I call taking an active role in your self-healing, active recovery. So we're getting in there and actively loosening up the muscles using these deep tissue techniques combined with acupressure locations. Each of these points that I'm showing you also correspond with acupuncture points, and they work really well not only for the musculoskeletal system, but also for how it aligns with the acupuncture meridian system. Each acupuncture meridian corresponds with a different internal organ. In this case, we're on the urinary bladder channel. And so we're not only affecting the muscles and the bones and the tendons and the joints, but we're also affecting the associated internal organs. And so we really got a full body healing system here with something as simple as a tennis ball, but you can use any other kind of ball, like a lacrosse ball. I even had someone say that they couldn't find a ball, so they used a hard lemon. You ever looked at a hard lemon and thought, hey, This is gonna heal my body. I think in this person's case, it helps cure their sciatica. Not cure it, but set the conditions to allow the body to heal itself so much faster. All right? Went on a crazy tangent there, but a lot of good info. So we're going to take this ball and do the last spot, which is the upper part of the calf here. I like to put it a little bit on the outside. There's a little bone here. You can feel this hard bone. This is the head of the fibula, and I like to go just underneath it. So we're sort of sandwiching the muscle in between the ball and the bone. And this is the general concept that I like to use in this self-healing process. Whether you're pressing on the IT band here, pressing the muscle in between the ball and the femur, your big old thigh bone right there, we're sandwiching the muscle tissue. Because what happens is the muscles get all knotted up like this. That's why they call it a knot. They're supposed to go in fibrous bands like this. And so what happens when things are knotted up and then you put pressure, that body weight, onto the ball, it causes the muscle to first flatten out and then separate. And this is how we can work out these knots in the body. And so we've covered hamstring, we've covered the calf muscle, we covered IT band, and now we're going to do a little bit here of the side of the leg. This one is super cool. I like to have both legs like this. Take one, put it underneath the other one. So we got this figure 4 shape going on. Take the ball and place it underneath your leg like this. Compressing on that muscle that goes on the outside of the lower leg. I'm compressing it against the fibula there. This is a very famous acupuncture point here just underneath the head of the fibula on the gallbladder channel. Helps to relax all the tendons and the whole body. We use this point all the time in the clinic, and you can activate it yourself using a ball. So as this spot is released, we'll go to the middle spot, again using the 3-point rule, and then you can go just above the ankle here. You got the pressure of your leg going down on it. And this spot is so good. Anytime you've rolled your ankle, I used to roll my ankles all the time. I used to do a lot of parkour, right? And I would sprain my ankles. And then I didn't know how to heal myself. All I was told to do was just to keep training. And I had so much fire inside, I thought, why not? I'm so obsessed with this thing, I'm just going to keep training. And so I would train and hurt it, make it worse, and continue this cycle of constantly re-injuring and rolling my ankles. And every time that you roll your ankle like this muscle on the side tightens up like crazy to try to protect you. And over time, it just stays tight like this. And so we gotta relax this muscle to not only help your ankles, but to also help the knee. You see how this starts to blend into different parts of the body. This thigh area over here is not just gonna help the knee, but it's also gonna help the hip up here. These spots on the calf and lower leg are not just going to help the knee, but they're also going to help the ankle. And so we really got this whole backside and lateral side of the leg part really dialed in with these simple techniques. So I showed you in sort of a random order. I like to show people the middle of the muscle belly first because it's easier to find, and in general it's usually going to be pretty tender. But we can also follow a flow, starting from just underneath this bony protrusion on the side. 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3. And we also have the hamstring. We could go from the top, 1, 2, 3, and then at the bottom, 1, 2, 3. And this is a very simple way of breaking down the body so that we can heal ourselves. As a bonus, check me out, I'm in crisscross applesauce. They didn't tell you in kindergarten that you could sit like this and also heal yourself at the same time. But I'm going to show you what they should have showed you a long time ago. So we're going to go like this. Same technique, place the ball under your leg. And now you're chilling. Oftentimes I'll sit like this, watch something, watch someone, and I'm healing my leg the whole time. They don't even know it. It's like secret ninja heal yourself mode. And you can just move it to the middle, move it to the end, move it anywhere in between that you want. Really, it's all good. The whole point is to be able to give ourselves a deep tissue massage while activating acupuncture points at the same time. This whole channel on the side here, gallbladder channel. This whole side here on the bottom, urinary bladder channel. And there's a whole host of deeper connections on why this is significant and why we're affecting these organs and the different emotions that are involved in each one. We're going to go deeper into these aspects later on. And I'm sure you must be wondering, Andrew, what about the top? What about the inside? Well, we're going to learn about that a little bit later in a different video. But I'm going to leave you with this. These areas are going to be tender when you first started out. But let me tell you that there's a difference between therapeutic pain and harmful pain. Therapeutic pain is when you're putting pressure on that ball and maybe it feels a little tender, but it's that good kind of pain. It feels like it's helping, feels like it's loosening up. That's an okay range to be in. But if it feels like that sharp pain, like, oh, it hurts really bad and you're just trying to power through it, that's harmful pain. You're actually putting yourself through more harm by pressing too hard on the ball like that. And I've seen that happen where I taught someone how to use the ball and they came back and they're like, oh, my hand is all swollen. I was like, what? You should be feeling better. How are you doing it? And they're like, oh, I was really pressing into the ball as hard as I could, trying to dig out those knots, fighting through the pain. I was like, man, that's just going to make it worse. So now this is why I tell you, find that range of therapeutic pain and harmful pain and stay where it feels good. Everybody thinks no pain, no gain, right? But in this situation, I like to call it no pain, all gain, right? So this is how we can do a little call and response. I'll say no pain, you say all gain. No pain, all gain. No pain, all gain. No pain, all gain. Let's keep it in our minds that we can live a pain-free life and we don't have to constantly be pushing through the pain just to accomplish things, right? We're looking at the long-term goals here. Not just 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50, 60 years, maybe even 70 years, maybe even 80 years you may be watching this video, learning this technique that you can be healing yourself instead of going deeper and deeper into pain and tension. I call this a constant state of self-healing. Instead of living in a way where we're constantly building up tension and having that stress and stress hormones attack our body, creating different sorts of chronic pain and chronic illness, instead, we're going to implement the 5 elements of self-healing to put ourselves in a constant state of self-healing so that we can constantly be healing, feeling better, and we have the tools necessary so that when we have the inevitable pains of life, we get injured, something happens, we get stressed out, we have the tools to help correct these imbalances that occur. So the way that I look at it is instead of what we normally do, which is to train, live life, and then we're building up that tension until, boom, something hurts. That's like phase 1 of pain. And then we're going up, we keep training through it, we don't take care of it, and then boom, phase 2 of pain is when something really bad happens. And now you gotta get surgery, you gotta get some sort of corrective measure placed on you, maybe you get a cast or something. Oh, you don't even wanna get to that point. You wanna stay within these ranges underneath where the big injuries happen. Every time that I get injured, boom, pain level goes up. I do the techniques to help bring it down. And then I train. Inevitably, something's gonna happen again, and then I heal it. So I stay within this baseline of where I'm feeling good, I'm feeling healthy, no pain, no injuries, full range of motion, mobility. this is possible for us to live like this. We can live in this amazing state where our bodies feel good and we don't have to be tortured with pain all of the time. So, I know we went over a lot today. We went over the bottom of the hamstrings and the calves, side of the legs, and side of the lower leg. We started off talking about the knee, but we also talked about how you can affect the ankles and the hips. We also talked about the acupuncture meridians. We talked about a few of the core principles and philosophies of this healing system, and we're just downloading all of this information, and I'm going to start creating more and more consistent videos so that you can really understand the full aspect, how we can take care of ourselves, because this is really a pretty complete system. You can take care of a lot of different problems using the 5 elements of self-healing, and then if you really need some help, then you go to a type of healer, like an acupuncturist, massage therapist, energy healer, chiropractor, all of these natural, holistic methods of healing that can help to rectify whatever imbalances occur through life without the harsh side effects of prescription medication and without the super invasive surgeries and recovery processes necessary from those types of crazy treatments, right? Use those when you need to, when you're in a bad accident, something pretty crazy happens, but for everything else, you want to use stuff that's not going to take such a heavy toll on your body, especially if you don't really need to. All right? Thank you so much. This was an amazing episode. I had so much fun filming it. I hope you had fun watching it. Hope you took some notes. Now catch you on the next one. All right? Peace.